Dr. Jessica Hawthorne's breath frosted in the thin atmosphere of Kepler 186 as she traced her fingers along the obsidian monolith's surface. The alien text seemed to pulse beneath her touch, a soft blue luminescence following her hand's movement. Around her, the red dwarf star cast long shadows across the archaeological dig site, painting the landscape in shades of crimson and deep purple. Remarkable preservation, she muttered into her suit's recorder. The material appears to be some form of self-repairing metamaterial, unlike anything in the Concordat's database. Her eyes narrowed as she focused on a particular sequence of symbols. Wait, that can't be right. Behind her, High Admiral Zixtal's environmental suit whirred as he stepped forward. The Concordat official's four eyes blinked in sequence, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the starlight. Have you found something significant, Doctor? Jessica's hand trembled as she continued translating. The text spoke of ships that moved like ghosts through the void, vessels that could bend reality itself. A fleet so powerful that its mere existence had forced an entire civilization to carve warnings into indestructible stone. Sir, these aren't just historical records, she said, her voice tight. They're warnings. This entire region of space was sealed off because of something called the Ghost Fleet. It says, she paused, double-checking her translation. It says humanity possessed technologies that defied the laws of physics themselves. A ripple of clicking sounds, laughter, emerged from Zixtal's environmental suit. Dr. Hawthorne, surely you don't believe these primitive carvings. Humanity is barely capable of maintaining their rusty outposts beyond their solar system. We've observed them for decades. Jessica shook her head, pointing to a series of mathematical equations carved into the stone. These aren't just stories, Admiral. Look at these quantum formulae. Whoever built this monument had an understanding of physics that rivals our own. They're describing technologies that could. She swallowed hard. Could tear holes in space-time itself. The Admiral's crystalline appendage waved dismissively. Legends and fairy tales. Nothing more. The Concordat cannot be delayed by ancient superstitions. Our colony ships are already en route. Sir, please, Jessica insisted, her scientific detachment cracking. These warnings are specific. They say crossing into the restricted zone with certain types of energy signatures could awaken something far worse than the Ghost Fleet. We need to study this further before. That will be quite enough, Doctor, Zixtal interrupted. Your preliminary report has been noted. The expansion will proceed as planned. He turned to his staff, his crystalline form catching the starlight. Prepare for the next phase of colonization. As the Admiral and his entourage departed, Jessica remained before the monolith. Something caught her eye. A slight shift in the stone's luminescence. The text was changing, responding to some unseen signal. New symbols appeared, scrolling across the surface like water. Her eyes widened as she translated the new message. Warning protocols activated. Ghost Fleet awakening sequence initiated. Deep within the monolith, hidden quantum circuits that had lain dormant for centuries hummed to life. The signal they broadcast was virtually undetectable, encoded in the quantum foam of space-time itself. But somewhere in the darkness between stars, something was listening. Jessica stared at her translation screen, then at the departing Concordat ships rising into the purple sky. She thought about humanity's seemingly primitive outposts, their outdated ships, their apparent technological stagnation. For the first time, she wondered if there might be a reason humanity had appeared to remain so far behind the Concordat. As the red dwarf's light faded, the monolith's glow intensified, its warning message continuing to scroll. The Ghost Fleet was no longer just a legend. And the galaxy was about to discover why humanity had worked so hard to appear harmless all these years. Commander Mike, Maverick Reynolds, leaned back in his pilot's seat, one hand resting casually on what appeared to be a duct-taped control panel. His patrol ship, the Lucky Penny, looked like it had been cobbled together from spare parts and wishful thinking. Steam occasionally vented from questionable seals, and the hull bore the scars of numerous meteor impacts. "Approaching Concordat fleet, Command," he reported, scratching his graying beard. "Counting 27 capital ships, 15 colony vessels. Pretty ambitious for a peaceful expansion." The supposedly primitive radio crackled. "Copy that, Maverick. Remember protocol. We're just a simple border patrol, nothing fancy." Behind his relaxed demeanor, Reynolds' fingers danced across hidden holographic interfaces, their quantum sensors analyzing every frequency, every emission from the alien armada. The Rust Bucket Act had served humanity well for centuries, hiding their true capabilities in plain sight. The Concordat flagship, a massive crystalline structure that seemed to be grown rather than built, fired a communication burst. A hologram materialized on Reynolds' malfunctioning dashboard. Unidentified human vessel. The translator rendered High Admiral Zixtal's clicks and whistles into English. "You have entered restricted Concordat expansion space. Your presence here is unauthorized." Reynolds allowed himself a small smile. "Begging your pardon, Admiral, but I believe you've got that backwards. This region falls under the Protected Systems Treaty of 2487. I'm authorized to request your immediate withdrawal." All four of Zixtal's eyes blinked in apparent amusement. "Protected Systems Treaty. Your species barely maintains cohesion in your own solar system. These expanses are far beyond your jurisdiction." "Nevertheless," Reynolds replied, his calm masking the activation sequence he'd already initiated, "I'm obligated to inform you that proceeding further will be considered a hostile act." The Concordat bridge crew's crystalline forms shimmered with their version of laughter. Reynolds noted how their advanced sensors completely missed the quantum entanglement signals now emanating from his ship's core. "Perhaps," Zixtal mocked, "you should return to your solar system before your impressive vessel succumbs to its obvious structural issues." As if on cue, another burst of steam vented from the Lucky Penny's hull. Reynolds made a show of hitting a panel with his fist, muttering apologies. But deep within the ship's quantum core, vast amounts of data were being processed and transmitted through channels the Concordat couldn't even detect. "Last warning, Admiral," Reynolds said, his voice still friendly but carrying an edge. "This sector is restricted for your own protection. There are things out here you don't understand." "The only thing I understand," Zixtal responded, "is that humanity's delusions of importance have reached new heights. Your warning is noted and dismissed. Concordat fleet, proceed with colonization pattern Delta." Reynolds watched the massive ships begin their advance. He sighed, genuinely disappointed. "Command, Maverick here. They're proceeding. Initiating Protocol Ghost." "Confirmed, Maverick. Ghost Protocol authorized." The cavalry's already warming up. As the Concordat fleet pushed forward, their sensors registered an unusual energy spike from the human vessel. For a fraction of a second, something flickered beneath the Lucky Penny's rusted exterior, a glimpse of technology that shouldn't exist. Reynolds entered a complex sequence into what looked like an ancient keyboard. Quantum circuits hidden beneath layers of apparent decay sprang to life. The signal they broadcast wasn't meant for the Concordat fleet. It was aimed at the darkness between the stars, at hidden bases and secret shipyards that had waited centuries for this moment. "You know," he transmitted to the Concordat flagship, all pretense of the simple patrol captain gone from his voice. "We tried to warn you. We really did." The first quantum signatures began appearing on the Concordat sensors. Deep in human space, the Ghost Fleet was awakening. Humanity's greatest secret was about to reveal itself, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Kate Steele Davidson's footsteps echoed through the massive underwater chamber, each sound swallowed by the crushing depths of the Mariana Trench. The facility, hidden 11 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean, hadn't seen human presence in nearly 50 years. Everything was automated, waiting, watching for the signal that had finally come. "Status report," she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of preparation. "Ghost Fleet awakening sequence at 30%. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander James Chen responded, his hands moving across holographic displays that emerged from what had appeared to be bare walls. Quantum cores are stabilizing. Ships are responding to the activation codes. Around them, the darkness of the underwater hangar slowly gave way to soft blue light as ancient systems powered up. Through the reinforced viewport, massive shapes began to emerge from their long slumber. The flagship Valley Forge dominated the center, its hull seeming to shift between states of matter, never quite solid, never quite ethereal. "Time to break the masquerade," Davidson muttered, placing her palm on a quantum-locked console. Her DNA triggered a cascade of commands, and the entire facility hummed with awakening power. Begin surface breach sequence. The ocean floor above them started to part, massive plates of rock and sediment shifting with precision that defied their size. Waterfalls of abyssal water cascaded around environmental shields as the Ghost Fleet's primary base revealed itself to the open ocean for the first time in generations. Multiple quantum signatures detected from Sol's outer systems, Chen reported. Colonel Torres reports Jupiter's orbital yards are at full activation. Titan base confirms readiness. The entire fleet is responding, Admiral. Davidson watched as the Valley Forge's quantum drive spooled up, its impossible geometry making mockery of conventional physics. The ship was nearly 5 kilometers long, yet could fold space to appear no larger than a shuttle. Its hull was composed of materials that could shift between dimensions, making it virtually invulnerable to conventional weapons. "Admiral," Chen's voice carried an edge of awe. "You need to see this." The main display showed feeds from across the solar system. From Jupiter's clouds, massive shapes emerged, ships that had hidden in plain sight within the gas giant's storms. Around Saturn, orbital rings that had masqueraded as debris fields revealed themselves to be shipyards. Even the asteroid belt stirred, as vessels that had posed as lifeless rocks awakened. "Signal from Pluto defense platform," another officer announced. "Deep space sensors are tracking the Concordat fleet. They're still advancing into the restricted zone." Davidson's expression hardened. They had their warning. "Initialize quantum comm systems. I want real-time coordination with every ship in the fleet." The Valley Forge's bridge materialized around them as they quantum shifted from the underwater base. Officers appeared at their stations, transferred instantaneously from facilities across the solar system. Technology that the Concordat had deemed impossible operated with casual precision. "Message from Commander Reynolds, Admiral," Chen reported. "The Lucky Penny is maintaining position. Concordat flagship is still refusing to withdraw." "Show me the fleet status," Davidson ordered. A three-dimensional display filled the bridge, showing hundreds of Ghost Fleet vessels coming online. Each ship represented technology that humanity had hidden from the galaxy, capabilities that they had deemed too dangerous to reveal until absolutely necessary. "All ships reporting ready, Admiral," Chen confirmed. "Quantum synchronization at optimal levels. The fleet awaits your command." Davidson took a moment to observe her bridge crew. Each of them had trained for years, preparing for this moment. They were the guardians of humanity's greatest secret, and now that secret was about to be revealed. "Send to all Ghost Fleet vessels," she commanded, her voice steady. "Execute quantum jump protocols. Formation Delta 7. Let's show the Concordat why this sector was restricted." Around the solar system, hundreds of ships shifted into quantum space. The Ghost Fleet was awakening, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity's apparent technological backwardness had been the greatest deception in galactic history. Lieutenant Emma Ghost Blackwood sat motionless in the cockpit of the Wraith, her stealth destroyer floating in quantum-shifted space, just meters from the Concordat flagship. To their sensors, she didn't exist. The Wraith's quantum displacement field bent reality around the ship, making it less a physical object and more a possibility, a shadow in space-time itself. Target analysis complete. Her co-pilot, Shade, reported in her neural link. Their shield matrix has 17 redundant layers. They believe it impenetrable. Emma allowed herself a small smile. Impenetrable to conventional weapons, maybe. Let's give them a little physics lesson. Power up the QPC. The quantum phase cannon hummed to life, its core drawing energy not from conventional sources, but from the quantum fluctuations of space-time itself. The weapon didn't so much fire energy as it did temporarily rewrite the laws of physics in a localized area. Concordat ships maintaining formation. Shade updated. Their admiral is currently broadcasting a speech about human primitives and manifest destiny. Would you like me to patch it through? No need. Emma replied, making minute adjustments to her targeting solution. I've heard enough speeches. Initialize targeting sequence. Remember, surgical precision. We're sending a message, not starting a war. Through her neural interface, Emma could feel the Wraith's systems as extensions of her own body. The ship wasn't just technology. It was an expression of humanity's true capabilities, hidden for centuries until this moment. Target locked, Shade confirmed. QPC charged to minimum effective yield, awaiting your command. Emma took a deep breath. Execute. The quantum phase cannon fired a single pulse, a pencil-thin beam of altered reality that passed through the Concordat flagship's shields as if they weren't there. Physics itself bent around the beam as it struck the ship's primary power distribution node with pinpoint accuracy. The effect was immediate. All 17 layers of impenetrable shields collapsed. Weapon systems went dark. Secondary power failed. The massive flagship, pride of the Concordat fleet, drifted in space, its crystalline structure now lit only by emergency systems. Direct hit, Shade announced unnecessarily. Their power grid is offline. Life support and artificial gravity remain functional, as calculated. They are considerably confused. Emma engaged the Wraith's quantum shift drive, allowing the ship to phase back into normal space directly in front of the Concordat fleet. The stealth destroyer's black hull seemed to drink in starlight, its edges never quite staying in focus. Open a channel, she ordered. All frequencies. The command deck of the Concordat flagship appeared on her view screen. High Admiral Zixtel stood amid blinking emergency lights, his crystalline form radiating waves of confusion and fear. This is Lieutenant Emma Blackwood of the Earth Ghost Fleet vessel Wraith, she announced, letting calm authority fill her voice. That was a warning shot. A demonstration of exactly one weapon system on exactly one of our ships. Your shields will reinitialize in approximately 10 minutes, once the quantum phase disruption dissipates. Impossible, Zixtel chittered. Our sensors didn't even detect your approach. The energy readings, they defy known physics. They defy your known physics, Emma corrected. There's a reason this sector is restricted. You're using technologies you don't fully understand, in ways that could have consequences you can't imagine. The Ghost Fleet exists to prevent those consequences. She watched realization dawn in all four of the Admiral's eyes. The myths were true. The legends were real. And humanity wasn't just more advanced than they'd appeared. They were operating on a level the Concordat hadn't known was possible. Final warning, Emma stated. Withdraw your fleet or prepare to witness the full capabilities of the Ghost Fleet. Trust me, you don't want that demonstration. As emergency power slowly returned to the Concordat flagship, Emma leaned back in her cockpit. The real challenge wasn't showing them humanity's power. It was preparing them for the truth about why that power had remained hidden for so long. Shade, she commanded, begin monitoring deep space sensors. If I'm right, our friends out there are about to wake up. Admiral Kate Davidson stood on the Valley Forge's quantum glass bridge as hundreds of Ghost Fleet vessels materialized around the Concordat invasion force. The massive ships emerged from quantum space like predators surfacing from deep waters, their impossible geometries causing ripples in reality itself. Status of the Concordat fleet, she demanded, watching the holographic tactical display. They're powering up weapons, Admiral, Commander Chen reported, his fingers dancing across quantum interfaces. Energy signatures suggest they're preparing a full assault pattern. They still don't understand what they're dealing with. The Valley Forge's sensors suddenly screamed warnings. Deep space monitoring systems detected something massive stirring in the void. Ancient energy patterns awakening in response to the Concordat's reckless use of unstable warp technology. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Rodriguez called from the sensor station, her voice tight. "You need to see these readings. The restricted zone. It's becoming active." Davidson's jaw clenched as she studied the data. The very thing they'd feared was happening. "Contact Lieutenant Blackwood on the Wraith. Tell her to fall back to formation. And get me a direct line to High Admiral Zixtal. It's time they learned the truth." Before the order could be carried out, the Concordat fleet opened fire. Thousands of plasma torpedoes and quantum-tipped missiles streaked toward the Ghost fleet. Davidson didn't even bother giving defensive orders. The attacks passed harmlessly through her ships, their quantum-shifted hulls existing partially out of normal spacetime. "They're using antimatter-catalyzed weapons," Chen noted with growing concern. "The energy discharge, it's creating ripples in the quantum fabric." "Show me the deep space readings," Davidson commanded. The tactical display shifted, revealing massive energy disturbances growing in the void. Ancient barriers, maintained for millennia by forgotten technologies, were beginning to fail. "Multiple quantum ruptures detected," Rodriguez shouted. "Something's coming through." The space between the fleets began to twist. Reality itself seemed to tear as massive shapes pressed against the dimensional barriers. The Concordat fleet's energy weapons had done exactly what humanity had spent centuries trying to prevent. "All ships, defensive formation Omega," Davidson ordered, her voice carrying across the quantum-linked fleet. "Priority 1 is containing the breach. Lieutenant Blackwood, move the Wraith into position to begin quantum sealing procedures." The Ghost fleet moved with impossible precision, hundreds of ships synchronizing their quantum fields to create a containment barrier. Through the quantum glass viewport, Davidson could see the Concordat ships finally falling silent as they witnessed the true scope of human technology. "Admiral," Chen reported, "we're detecting Class Omega entities beginning to manifest. Concordat weapons fire has weakened the dimensional barriers by 17%. Davidson watched as tentacles of pure darkness, each larger than her entire fleet, began reaching through the quantum tiers. The ancient horrors that humanity had sworn to contain were awakening, drawn by the Concordat's careless use of energy weapons. "Open emergency channels to all ships, Concordat and Ghost Fleet," she commanded. "This is Admiral Catherine Davidson of the Earth Ghost Fleet. What you're witnessing is why this sector was restricted. For centuries, humanity has guarded against these entities, beings that nearly devoured all sentient life eons ago." The quantum displays showed more ruptures forming. The Ghost Fleet's ships moved in perfect synchronization, their quantum fields working to contain the breaches, but even their advanced technology was being pushed to its limits. "We can still contain this," Davidson continued, "but only if we work together. Your weapons are making the situation worse. Stand down immediately and prepare to receive quantum synchronization protocols. This is no longer about territory or pride. It's about the survival of all sentient life in this galaxy." As if to emphasize her words, a massive eye opened in the void between fleets, an eye larger than a planet, filled with ancient malevolence. The true purpose of the Ghost Fleet was about to be revealed, and the galaxy would never be the same. "All ships," Davidson ordered, "prepare for emergency quantum containment procedures. The real war is about to begin." Captain Marcus Sentinel Wade led his quantum phase assault team through the corridors of the Concordat flagship, their armor shifting between states of matter as they moved. The crystalline walls around them pulsed with emergency lighting, casting prismatic shadows across their advanced suits. 2 minutes until full power restoration, Lieutenant Sarah Cooper reported through their neural link. "Better make this quick, Sentinel." Marcus nodded, though the gesture was unnecessary in their linked consciousness. The data crystals he carried contained truths that would shatter the Concordat's understanding of reality, and hopefully convince them to help prevent the apocalypse they'd unwittingly started. High Admiral's command deck ahead, Cooper announced. Security systems still offline from Lieutenant Blackwood's strike. The team phased through the final bulkhead, their quantum-shifted forms temporarily becoming pure probability before resolembifying in the command center. High Admiral Zixtal and his staff recoiled at their appearance, four-eyed gazes fixed on the humans who had just walked through solid matter. High Admiral, Marcus announced, his helmet dissolving into quantum particles to reveal his face. I'm Captain Wade of the Ghost Fleet. We need to talk. Before Zixtal could respond, the viewport behind him filled with impossible darkness. A massive tentacle, seemingly formed from living void, scraped against the quantum-reinforced glass. The entire ship shuddered. That, Marcus said, pointing to the horror beyond, is why we're here. Why we've always been here. He placed the data crystal into a nearby console, overriding its systems with Ghost Fleet technology. And this is what humanity has been fighting for centuries. The crystal projected a holographic history of terror. It showed ancient civilizations falling to entities that defied comprehension, entire species devoured by horrors from beyond normal space. Then it showed humanity's first encounter with them, and the terrible price paid to develop the technology to fight back. The quantum technology you've been recklessly deploying, Marcus explained as the images played. It creates ripples in reality. Those ripples wake them up. Your weapons, your drives, they're like dinner bells to these things. Impossible, one of Zixtal's officers chittered. Our science is built on fundamental universal constants. These readings must be false. Cooper stepped forward, her armor rippling like liquid starlight. Your science is incomplete. Reality is negotiable. We learned it the hard way. The Ghost Fleet doesn't run on engines. It runs on controlled impossibility. We bend physics because playing by the regular rules wasn't enough to stop them. Another massive form pressed against the viewport, its surface seeming to swallow light itself. The hologram showed corresponding images from humanity's past. Cities destroyed, colonies lost, billions dead before the Ghost Fleet's technology was perfected. This is why we hide our true capabilities, Marcus continued. Why we let the galaxy think we're primitive. The more advanced technology in use, the more likely these things wake up. We maintain the quarantine, keep watch, and deal with any incursions quietly. Zixtal's crystalline form shimmered with emotional colors. If what you say is true, how many are there? Too many, Marcus replied grimly. The restricted zone contains dozens of dimensional weak points where they try to break through. We've been maintaining the quantum barriers for generations, but your fleet's weapons fire has severely damaged the containment fields. Through the viewport, they could see the Ghost Fleet moving in precise formation, their quantum fields creating a web of controlled reality to hold back the horrors. But more tiers were forming, more ancient things pushing against the barriers of spacetime. You have a choice, Admiral, Marcus stated, his voice firm but not unkind. You can help us contain this, add your fleet's power to ours through the quantum synchronization protocols we're offering. Or you can watch reality itself get devoured by something that makes your worst nightmares look comfortable. The massive eye appeared again, its gaze seeming to pierce directly into their souls. The command deck fell silent as the Concordat officers finally understood the true scale of what they faced, and why humanity had chosen to bear this burden alone for so long. Commander Mike Reynolds stood on the reality-bending bridge of the event horizon, watching quantum tiers spread across space like cracks in glass. The former patrol ship captain had shed his rustic facade, now coordinating with Concordat engineers as they raced against time. Another breach forming in Sector 7. A Concordat technician called out, her crystalline form vibrating with stress. The quantum distortions are accelerating. Through the quantum glass viewport, Reynolds watched as tentacles of void stuff reached through dimensional walls that had stood for millennia. The Ghost Fleet ships moved in intricate patterns, their quantum fields weaving reality back together. But for every breach they sealed, two more appeared. Show me the containment grid, he ordered. The holographic display materialized, showing the complex network of quantum fields barely holding back the horrors. Red warning indicators were spreading like a disease. Dr. Jessica Hawthorne's voice cut through the chaos as her image appeared on the command deck. "Commander, I've finished analyzing the monolith's final warnings. This was predicted, all of it. The ancient civilization knew this moment would come. They knew the Concordat would break the seals." Reynolds asked, watching another quantum tear form. "No," Jessica replied, her face grim. "They knew humanity couldn't maintain the barriers alone forever. The choice was always meant to come, unite or fall. The warnings weren't just about the Ghost Fleet. They were instructions for this exact moment." A massive shape pressed against the fabric of reality, its form suggesting geometries that shouldn't exist. The Event Horizon's quantum sensors screamed as space-time itself began to buckle. "All ships, full power to containment fields," Reynolds ordered. "Redirect all non-essential energy to the quantum barriers." But it wasn't enough. The ancient horrors were pushing harder, drawn by the lingering energy signatures of the Concordat's weapons. Through the neural link, Reynolds could feel the strain on the quantum grid, feel reality starting to tear. "Commander," his XO reported, "Admiral Davidson is asking for status. Do we proceed with emergency protocols?" Reynolds studied the tactical display, watching both fleets struggle against the increasing breaches. The Ghost Fleet's advanced technology was being pushed to its limits. Without help, they would fail, and reality would pay the price. "Signal from the Concordat flagship," the comm officer announced. "High Admiral Zixtal is requesting quantum synchronization protocols." The bridge fell silent. After centuries of hiding their true power, after generations of bearing this burden alone, humanity had to trust others with their greatest secrets. The alternative was annihilation. "Send the protocols," Reynolds ordered, "and get me a direct line to every ship in both fleets." The quantum comm activated, connecting every vessel in real time. Reynolds took a deep breath, knowing his next words would change the galaxy forever. "This is Commander Reynolds to all ships. You've seen what we're facing. You know what's at stake. The quantum synchronization protocols will link our fleets into a single defensive grid. Your ships will have access to Ghost Fleet technology, but more importantly, will have access to your power." He paused as another dimensional tear formed, this one large enough to swallow a planet. Through it, ancient eyes watched with hungry malevolence. "This is the moment of choice. Together, we might have enough power to seal the breaches and reinforce the dimensional barriers. Divided, we watch reality itself get devoured. The Ghost Fleet has guarded these horrors alone for centuries, but we can't do it anymore. Not alone." The tactical display showed Concordat ships moving into formation alongside Ghost Fleet vessels. One by one, their quantum signatures began synchronizing, their systems adapting to technologies they'd never imagined possible. "All ships linking to quantum grid," his XO reported. "Concordat vessels accepting synchronization protocols. Power levels rising beyond predicted capabilities." Reynolds watched as human and alien technology merge, creating something new, something powerful enough to face the darkness. The choice was made. Now they just had to survive it. "All ships," he commanded, "prepare for unified quantum barrier deployment. Let's show these things what two civilizations working together can do." Admiral Kate Davidson watched as reality bent and twisted around the combined fleet. Ghost Fleet vessels linked their quantum fields with Concordat ships, creating a defensive grid more powerful than anything humanity had achieved alone. The Valley Forge's bridge hummed with the combined power of two civilizations' technologies. "Quantum synchronization at 100%, Commander Chen reported. "Concordat energy systems fully integrated with our quantum grid. Power levels exceeding all previous records." Through the neural link, Davidson could feel the strength of their unified fleet. Concordat crystal tech merged with human quantum science, creating defensive barriers that could finally match the horrors they faced. multiple Class Omega entities emerging. Lieutenant Rodriguez called out. They're retreating from the quantum grid's power signature. The massive shapes that had pressed against reality began to withdraw, their impossible forms recoiling from the combined fleet's defenses. But one remained, the largest they'd ever encountered. Its eye alone dwarfed their entire formation, and tentacles of pure void reached across space-time itself. "All ships, hold formation," Davidson ordered, her voice carrying to every vessel, human and Concordat alike. "Channel all power to the primary quantum barrier. We seal this breach here and now." High Admiral Zixtel's voice joined hers across the command channel. "Concordat vessels, divert crystal core energy to human quantum systems. Follow their lead." The void beam struck, its attack bending space itself. But where such a blow would have once shattered reality, it now met something stronger. The combined fleet's quantum barrier held, their unified technology creating a wall the horror couldn't breach. "Counter-attack pattern Delta," Davidson commanded. "Show them what partnership looks like." Ghost fleet vessels pirouetted through space, their quantum weapons synchronized with Concordat crystal beams. Where humanity's advanced technology created gaps in the entity's dimensional armor, Concordat weapons struck with devastating precision. The creature screamed in frequencies that shouldn't exist, its form beginning to dissolve under the combined assault. Around it, the quantum tiers in spacetime began to seal, reality knitting itself back together under the protection of the unified fleet. Final breach collapsing. Chen reported triumphantly. "Quantum barriers regenerating. We did it, Admiral." Davidson allowed herself a small smile as she watched the ancient horror retreat back to its dimensional prison. Centuries of solitary guardianship had ended, replaced by something stronger: partnership. "Signal from the Wraith," Rodriguez announced. "Lieutenant Blackwood reports all dimensional weak points have been reinforced. The quantum grid is holding." Through the quantum glass viewport, Davidson watched Concordat ships moving in perfect formation with her Ghost Fleet vessels. Their combined technologies had achieved in minutes what humanity had struggled to maintain for centuries. "Open channel to all ships," she ordered, standing tall on her bridge. "This is Admiral Davidson. Today marks a new chapter in galactic history. The Ghost Fleet was created to guard against horrors beyond comprehension, to bear a burden we thought we had to carry alone. We were wrong." She watched as Concordat crews worked alongside her own, their different species united in purpose. "Together, we've proven stronger than any single civilization could be. The quantum barriers that once strained our resources now hold firm through our combined strength. The restricted zone is secure not through secrecy and isolation, but through partnership and trust." High Admiral Zixtel's image appeared beside her. "The Concordat acknowledges its error in dismissing human warnings. We stand ready to share this duty, to guard reality itself alongside our new allies." The tactical display showed the quantum grid spreading throughout the restricted zone, stronger and more stable than ever before. Ghost Fleet quantum science merged with Concordat crystal tech, creating a defense network that would last generations. "All ships return to standard patrol formation," Davidson ordered. "But this time, we patrol together." As the combined fleet moved into their new positions, Davidson reflected on the change they'd witnessed. Humanity's greatest secret had become their greatest partnership, and the galaxy was safer for it. The Ghost Fleet would continue its vigilance, but no longer alone. In facing the darkness between realities, they had found something precious: trust, understanding, and the knowledge that some burdens are better shared.